The Council of Nine's magnificent hall extended widely and imposingly. A shimmering light lattice sealed the chamber, casting reflections on the polished floor. The alien representatives sat in their allocated seats, each atop a platform suspended above the ground, an emblem of their species' status and Chancellor Vale's influence. The Council's tall chief surveyed the gathering with a serene, superior look. He narrowed his four eyes as the human delegation entered. Marcus Lee walked forward with purposeful determination, his face obscured by the traditional diplomatic mask. He took a quick glance at the towering extraterrestrial before lowering his eyes just enough to acknowledge, a shift enough to show respect, but not enough to submit. Even this simple motion seemed a delicate compromise, a harmony between power and humility. He could feel every representative's gaze on him, their expectations clear. To them, Earth's arrival was merely a formality. Association was inevitable. Surrender was assumed. Humans welcome, Vale's voice roared through the hall, his translator rendering the foreign language into clipped, mechanical English. I trust you have arrived ready to talk. The loyal galaxy awaits your choice. Marcus's fingers moved within the sleeve of his uniform, grazing the hidden communicator. He remained composed and offered a small, calculated grin. We are always ready to talk about the future, Chancellor. His voice was neutral but pleasant. The Chancellor's jaws moved in what Marcus thought might have been a smug expression. Let us begin, Vale said. Let us assume Earth understands its role in our vast galaxy. Let us acknowledge the futility of resistance. I give you credit for being resilient, but resilience does not replace power. The Council is united, you are not. If you reject our offer, you will not survive. Lee slowly nodded as if considering Vale's words. He sensed the growing anticipation of the other Council members. They were comfortable, they were confident, they believed Earth had come to kneel. But outside the summit, a storm was brewing. The Council had no idea beyond their sensor range. Earth's hidden fleet was positioning itself. The armada was in motion. Time was running out. Lee's heartbeat quickened, but his face remained unreadable. He let a pause linger before he finally spoke. The Council's strength is formidable. Vale leaned forward, pleased by what he saw as a concession. Then perhaps we can proceed with negotiations. Your forces will stand down, Earth will submit to the Council's governance, and in return the worst will not come to pass. The unspoken threat hung in the air. The other representatives shifted in their floating seats, their attention fixated on Lee's delegation. Lee sighed, his gaze steady. I must ask, Chancellor, for a moment of silence, a moment to reflect on the gravity of this decision. Vale waved a dismissive hand. Take your time, Admiral, he said indulgently. Reflection is a sign of wisdom. Lee's lips pressed into a fine line. Silently, he gave a subtle nod to his second in command. No more words were needed. The plan was already in motion. Beyond the Council's borders, Earth's hidden fleet moved. Then a chime echoed through the hall. The ambience shifted. Vale turned sharply, glancing at one of his advisors who hurriedly activated a holographic display. The Chancellor's expression tightened. His voice remained composed, but Lee could hear the strain beneath it. There appears to be a disturbance in our outer defense grid. Lee did not flinch. His voice was calm, steady, the voice of a man who already knew exactly what was happening. A monstrous alien with glistening mandibles let out a series of chittering clicks as another holographic screen emerged. Dots appeared on the periphery of Council territory. Human ships. Vale's mandibles twitched, his composure cracked. He turned back to Lee, anger flaring in his many eyes. What does this mean, you dare? Lee tapped his sleeve. A silent signal was sent to his fleet. Chancellor, Lee said smoothly, please understand we did not come here to bargain. The moment the words left his lips, alarms blared, holographic displays erupted in warning signals, light flickered in the chamber. Earth's hidden fleet was revealing itself. Explosions ripped through the Council's outer defenses. The star map before them lit up with devastation. Panic erupted. Council representatives scattered. Vale loomed over Lee, his frame casting a menacing shadow. Do you realize what you've done? He thundered. Lee stood his ground. This, he said coldly, is the end of your war. Silence fell over the hall, only the flashing alerts remained. Then, as if on cue, the Council's flagship, the Celestial Beacon, detonated in a sphere of fire. A shock wave rippled through the display. Lee's eyes remained locked on Vale. You misunderstood, Chancellor. You assumed we came to bow. Vale's mandibles trembled. Lee raised his communicator. Proceed. And Earth's fleet unleashed its full fury. The illusion of peace shattered. The chamber erupted into chaos. Vale barked orders. His advisors scrambled at their consoles, struggling to make sense of the catastrophe. Marcus did not move. He simply watched as his fleet dismantled the Council's forces with ruthless precision. Lieutenant Harlow stepped forward. "Sir," she said, her voice steady, "the celestial beacon is down, the fleet is advancing, resistance is minimal." The Council of Nine, the so-called rulers of the galaxy, were on their knees. Vale's eyes narrowed, the weight of his mistake settled upon him. "This is a grave error," he muttered, his voice low. "Do you truly believe this ends with us, that your people can hold the galaxy?" Lee met his gaze, silence stretched between them. The Chancellor's words were a desperate gamble, one last attempt to cling to power, but the galaxy had already changed. The ground trembled, another explosion rocked the chamber, a holographic map flickered, Council defenses crumbling, their command center under siege. A small amphibious representative let out a whimper. "We are losing everything," it whispered. Vale did not answer, his eyes locked onto the red hologram, trapped, blinking, surrounded. He searched for options, a solution. None existed. At last his voice came hollow, "We will no longer fight." Lee remained silent. "We will call for retreat," Vale said finally. No reinforcements were coming. No salvation awaited them. The undisputed rulers of the galaxy had been outplayed. Lee stepped forward, his voice was calm. "Chancellor, we tried diplomacy." Vale's mandibles twitched, but he said nothing. His empire was burning. Another tremor shook the hall. Lieutenant Harlow's communicator buzzed. She checked it. "Sir," she reported, "the planetary shields are failing." Lee gave a short nod. The end was near. Vale exhaled. His eyes flickered toward the hologram, toward the ruins of his dominion. His voice was barely a whisper. "I suppose you have won." Lee's gaze did not waver. "Perhaps," he said, "but this was never about victory." Vale frowned. Leigh's voice was steady. "This was about justice." And with that, Earth's fleet delivered the final blow. The Empire fell, the war ended, and the galaxy would never be the same. Her careful and steady steps echoed through the chamber. "All Council systems, Admiral, have been officially neutralized. Resistance has stopped. It's over." Lee didn't look at her. His gaze remained focused on the faraway void. "Is it?" Only because his voice was so low, Harlow wondered. It was barely above a murmur, but the depth in his tone was unexpected. "It's one thing to end a combat, Lieutenant," Lee finally said. "Another is when a war is truly over." Harlow paused, analyzing the change in his voice. She had been with him long enough to understand this wasn't reluctance or uncertainty. It was the weight of command, the weight of knowing the simple part was over. "We've prevailed, sir," she affirmed. "Earth stands victorious. The Council has fallen, that's no small accomplishment." His breath left his body, misting against the cold observation window. The Council of Nine wasn't just a military force, it was an institution. And when an institution collapses, the vacuum left behind doesn't stay empty for long. Harlow shifted uneasily. The confidence she had felt moments ago was now waning. She had believed victory would bring finality, closure. Yet standing here in the silent aftermath, the complexity of their situation was inescapable. "Do you believe they'll retaliate?" she finally asked. "They'll try," Lee answered, still not turning to face her. "This strike has cost them too much, but there will be factions, those who see opportunity in the Council's destruction. Some will seek power for themselves. Others will search for allies or threats." Harlow clenched her fists. "We've shown them our strength." Lee slowly shook his head. "Strength only gets you so far, Lieutenant. We've used diplomacy and strategy to get here. That's where the next battle will be fought, and we might not be as prepared as we thought." Before Harlow could respond, the chamber resonated with a quiet chime, an inbound transmission. "Admiral, you asked for a report," the intercom announced. Lee turned towards the main console. A holographic image flickered to life, revealing Commander Sarah Tran, leader of the ground forces stationed on one of the Council worlds. Her expression was grim. "We've obtained the Council's archives," she reported, her voice strained but firm. "But there's something you need to see." Lee's brow furrowed. "What is it, Commander?" Tran hesitated, a rare sign of discomfort for someone as seasoned as she was. "The Council wasn't just about military rule. We've discovered evidence of deeper operations, secret alliances, experiments, projects they were concealing from the galaxy." A chill ran down Harlow's spine.